Good morning, students. Welcome to the Checkpoint Online Sessions. This is Mr. Charles, and I'll be with you for the fourth lesson of week 3. Please go to your coursebook, pages 71 till 73. A letter from a foreign correspondent named Virgil Kian to his newborn son, Daniel. Let's read together. Hong Kong, February 1996. My dear son, it is 6 o'clock in the morning on the island of Hong Kong. You are asleep, cradled in my left arm, and I'm learning the art of one-handed typing. Your mother, more tired yet more happy than I have ever known her, is sound asleep in the room next door, and there is a soft quiet in our apartment. Since you've arrived, days have melted into night and back again, and we are learning a new grammar, a long sentence whose punctuation marks are feeding and winding and nappy changing, and these occasional moments of quiet. When you're older, we'll tell you that you were born in Britain's last Asian colony, and that when we brought you home, the staff of our apartment block gathered to wish you well. It's a boy. So lucky, so lucky. We Chinese love boys, they told us. One man said you were the first baby to be born in the block last year, or that year. This, he told us, was good feng shui, in other words, a positive sign for the building and everyone who lived there. Naturally, your mother and I were only too happy to believe that. We had wanted you and waited for you, imagined you and dreamed about you, and now that you are here, no dream can do justice to you. Outside the window, below us on the harbor, the ferries are ploughing back and forth to Kowloon. Millions are already up and moving about, and the sun is slanting through the tower blocks and out on the flat, silver waters on the South China Sea. I can see the tail of a jet over Lamma Island, and somewhere out there, the last stars flickering towards the other side of the world. We have called you Daniel Patrick, but I have been told by my Chinese friends that you should have a Chinese name as well. And this glorious dawn sky makes me think we'll call you Son of the Eastern Star. So that later, when you and I are far from Asia, perhaps standing on a beach some evening, I can point at the sky and tell you of the Orient and the times and the people we knew there in the last years of the 20th century. Your coming has turned me upside down and inside out. So much that seemed essential to me has, in the past few days, taken on a different color. Like many foreign correspondents I know, I have lived a life that, on occasion, has veered close to the edge. War zones, natural disasters, darkness in all its shapes and forms. In a world of insecurity and ambition and ego, it's easy to be drawn in, to take chances with our lives, to believe that what we do and what people say about us is reason enough to gamble with death. Now, looking at your sleeping face, inches away from me, listening to your occasional side-on gargle, I wonder how I could have ever thought glory and prizes and praise were sweeter than life. Daniel, my painful, haunting memories of suffering children I have come across on my journeys explain some of the fierce protectiveness I feel for you, the tenderness and the occasional moments of blind terror when I imagine anything happening to you. But there's something more. a story from long ago that I will tell you face to face, father to son, when you are older. It's a very personal story, but it's part of the picture. It has to do with the long lines of blood and family, about our lives and how we can get lost in them, and if we are lucky, find our way out again into the sunlight. When you're older, my son, you will learn about how complicated life becomes, how we can lose our way, and how people get hurt inside and out. When my grandfather died, his son was too far away to hear his last words, his final breath, and all the things that they might have wished to say to one another were left unspoken. Yet now, Daniel, I must tell you that when you let out your first powerful cry in the delivery room of the Adventist hospital and I became a father, I thought of your grandfather, and, foolish though it may seem, hoped that in some way he could hear, across the infinity between the living and the dead, your proud statement of arrival. For if he could hear, he would recognize the distinct voice of family, the sound of hope, and the new beginnings that you and all your innocence and freshness have brought to the world. Text analysis. The use of vocabulary. Not many difficult vocabulary in this text, and the reason being is that they are easy and straightforward. Straightforward meaning they are expressive and precise. So they are eloquent, but at the same time they are easy to digest. And this is to suit the occasion, feelings, and addressee of the written piece. The occasion is that he's talking to there's a newborn child to him. He's a father now. And the feelings are of joy, pride, um, remembering his father and not being able to see his own son. And the addressee is a little baby, is an infant still. Even when he grows up, he's still only his child. So he didn't have to be so expressive or so, let's say, sophisticated in his choice of words. That's why they are simple and straightforward. The purpose of the letter. Well, there are many purposes included. First, to express pride and joy of the father. The father is proud that he has become a father now, and he's full of joy that he has received a child. To express how life changed after becoming a father. He has stated how him or he and the mother have experienced many changes to their lives now that there's an infant among them. To reflect on the time of the world the son is born in. This is the turn of the century. It's the end of the 20th century, or towards the end of the 20th century. And there are major changes happening in the world, including Hong Kong, the city that the letter is supposedly written from. And he's reflecting on this, the father, how this time is changing. To reflect on the experiences as a war reporter, the father has stated that he has seen darkness in all forms and shapes. Him being a correspondent at a war zone or at war zones, multiple. He's also reflecting on that, how life seemed meaningless back then, but now that he has seen life in his son's eyes, seems so meaningful. The desire that his father finds peace by listening to his grandson's sighs. So the father of the newborn child now, the father that is writing the letter, his grandfather or his own father was deprived from speaking the last words, and he believes that this figure would find peace if there's any interaction, as he describes it, between the dead and the living people's worlds, um, that this figure would find peace by hearing his grandson's sighs, his grandson's cries of arrival or statements of arrival, as he described it. The mood of the letter, it is affectionate and moving, so it's sentimental and it moves anyone who reads it, and it suits the subjects tackled. It's the subject of a childbirth. We need to be affectionate, or the writer needs to be affectionate. And it's the passing of generations, grandfather to son, or even to grandson. And there are drastic changes in lifestyles. Him and the mother, the writer and the mother, have experienced many changes, as we said, in their lifestyles. And life around them is experiencing changes. So the style needs to be moving for us to experience, to feel affectionate with this situation. And the examples of such a mood include these quotations: soft, quiet, waited, imagined, dreamed, upside down the changes and inside out, painful, haunting memories, fierce protectiveness, the way that the father feels towards the son, tenderness, moments of blind terror when he feels something bad may happen to his newborn, last words, final breath, and all the things that they might have wished to say to one another were left unspoken. All of these words, phrases, clauses, they contribute to the building of the mood being affectionate, sentiment, and mostly towards being gloomy or sad. Setting or settings and their structure. We have many settings through this letter. The ground setting being Hong Kong Harbor, the way or where he is right now. But he moved the child while, or yeah, metaphorically moved the child through different settings by describing where it started and when they came back. So the stages of this letter are here, now in the apartment. He's holding him in one arm and trying to learn the typing in one hand on the laptop arm. And then the daily life with the new baby. How is their life now, him and the mother? The arrival home from the hospital, reaction of the neighbors. That's another setting. When they told them we Chinese love boys, they are a good sign, or their arrival is a good sign to the whole block. The present view from their window, the sunset, and then looking back at this time in the future, how to reflect on this current time when we reach the future, that we might be standing somewhere far from Asia, he says, in an evening. The changes of priorities with this birth, that the father is no longer considerate of um, prizes and winnings, is considered with his son's own life. The suffering of children the writer saw as a war correspondent, the death of his grandfather, his faith in the healing and restorative power of the new child for this family. These are all kind of summaries or kind of paraphrases of main ideas tackled in each paragraph in the text. The imagery used in this letter. The imagery is of stars and dawn, and in actually it's taken place over Hong Kong Harbor, but metaphorically it's happening in his own life with the new role of the father. Symbolically, stars and dawn give hope as well as light and announce something joyful and awaited. They banish as the father describes it, darkness in all its shapes and forms. A task for you is to try to write a similar letter to someone that is real or imaginary to read in the future. It could be your future self, your own self. So basically, a letter that is very similar to the one that we have just read, for someone to open it in the future and read it. It could be someone real or imaginary, and it could be your own self, you're writing to your future self. Include the following points. The same points that were included in the letter. Try to jot them down first and structure your writing before you start writing. So make sure you know what ideas you want to include, what memories you'd like to include, and what are your hopes for your future self when reading that have accomplished. Make sure you announce the setting and the mood. Make sure you structure this before you begin jotting. What's the setting that you're gonna write? Are you gonna move in different settings? And what's the mood, the overall mood of these settings? Make sure to include imagery as the father did. For the, as we spoke earlier many times, for the reader to um, get lost in images that you create. And this enforces the idea that you're trying to express even further by creating images in readers' heads. We're done for today. Thank you very much for listening. Stay safe and keep up your good work.